Welcome to the Make a Good at Make. I'm Jimmy G. This is my recap of Season 3, Game 7. Let's look at those rules modifiers. We had Into the Fray. Replace the first conflict card with a random conflict 3. And then we had our leaderboards modifiers, which was first up, Strategic Partnerships, +3 for each faction alliance you had at the end of the game. And then Big Spender, +1 for each 5-card cost you acquired from the Imperium row. And then we had Big Spender, +1 for each card with a cost of 5 or more you acquired from the Imperium row. And anybody who played Helena knows why I'm stressing where you bought that card. And then we had Big Spender, +1 for each card with a cost of 5 or more you acquired from the Imperium row. And if you played Helena, you know why I'm stressing Imperium row. Let's take a look at each one of these modifiers individually and talk about the strategy and how maybe the top players hit the big points. So if we take a look at these conflict 3 cards, we can see that 3 out of the 4 that are available have 2 VP and 1 has 2 influence. That's Grand Vision. The other 3 being the battle for Air King, Carthage, and Imperial Basin. So there is a pretty clear path to almost guaranteeing you get the first win and grabbing either 2 VP or 2 bumps. It's not absolutely guaranteed. You can be beat, especially if the robot AIs have some swords in hand, or get pretty lucky with getting a first round entry card combat that is pretty good. But that path is going 1 in your opening hand, having 1 or both of your faction access. So having diplomacy and or seek allies, and 1 or 2 swords, so 1 or 2 daggers in your hand. First move, because you always get it, so you know that if you get 1 of the 2 faction access, you can go to Hardy Warriors first. You go to Hardy Warriors, you get 2 troops, you drop 2 troops in, you're now at 8 strength. You have 1 more troop left in your garrison because you start with 3. On your second agent turn, if you are lucky enough that the robot for some reason did not go to still suits, you take still suits just so that you jump up to the friendship level and get a VP. And depending on what the robots have done, maybe you drop in that third and final troop from your garrison, which will now put you up to 10 strength before your daggers. More than likely, the robots will have gone to still suits, so that won't be available. And then you just go to either Imperial Basin if it's available, so that you have an intrigue for not an intrigue, I'm sorry, but a spice to drop in. And then you decide, do you need to drop in that 4th troop, depending on what the robots are doing. And then maybe hit a purple space to get another troop in, and if you need to deploy and pick up either another card or the intrigue. You could also go up to secure contract, so that you would have some Solari in your pocket, depending on what character you're playing and what you're trying to set up. Which brings me to what leader really lends itself to this first modifier. And I immediately went with Leto because of the second modifier, which is strategic partnerships, but he still plays into this first modifier. So let's talk about leaders in regard to the first modifier. All of them play well. They all play nice with this first one because they all can follow the path that I just laid out, going Hardy Warriors and almost virtually guaranteeing that you walk away with this 2 VP or 2 influence. I played probably 12 times total, and maybe once or twice I did not get that VP. And sometimes that was just because I got a crazy opening hand and was like, well, let's see what I could do. And I ended up knowing I can't get it. But anytime I was given faction access round one, I was able to lock down getting that to VP or to influence. But in regard to leaders, I think Leto is still a very strong choice because one, he can really lean into this, but he's set up for the second modifier especially. But I think an interesting niche case for for the opening. But I think an interesting niche case for Into the Fray is Barron, and that's because of the master stroke. So knowing that you always get to go first, you know that, well, if I get the faction access cards in my hand and a dagger, I'm almost assuredly going to win. So I'm going to take Barron, and with my master stroke, I'm going to go with Fremen for sure. But then you look at the Imperium row, and if Firm Grip is in there, then you're going to absolutely go for Emperor for your second choice. You do the same thing as we talked about just a moment ago, the path from Hardy Warriors, drop in your 4, you trigger your Master Stroke, which takes you up to your friendship level with the Fremen. So now you're at 2 VP because you start with 1, and you're going to go up 1 with the Emperor. And if you are playing one of the 3 battles, then you'll win the 2 VP and you'll go up to 4 total VP by the end of the first round. But if Grand Vision is the conflict that you drew, now you're going to get a double bump on the Fremen. You're going to go up to the Alliance level. You're going to grab that Alliance token. You'll only have 3 VP instead of the 4. But you'll have an alliance at the end of round 1 and 3 skirmish points. And that's a great way to start the game. Now, that niche case with the Baron could maybe go to other leaders, but then you have to get really lucky. In that you need steel suits to be open again so that you can cycle back around and jump up to that second level, get that friendship VP, and then the double bonus from Grand Vision would also get you the alliance, but it's not nearly as likely as with the Baron because you can guarantee that jump with the Master Stroke. So now let's talk about the leaderboard scoring modifiers, and we'll start with strategic partnership. I think the beginning and the basis of the strategy for this one, at least for me, was the leader selection, and Leto was my first and only pick for my official runs. I played him all 3 runs, and I didn't do well the first run, even though I came in second place. I only got 16 points, but my second and third run, I got progressively better, 27, and then finally 29 skirmish points for my third and final run. I picked Leto because of prudent diplomacy. You play that signet ring, pay a spice, and go up 1 influence with a faction where the opponent has more than you. So this was a nice way to bump it up. But immediately I thought, well, what if I get some fun cards in the Imperium row? So let's take a look at those cards and why I thought I'm going to play this guy. And if these cards come up, I'm grabbing them even though they don't give me points. Here is a look at the first one, and it's Firm Grip. 2 Solari, and you get a bump on either the Spacing Guild, the Bennies, or with the Fremen. So keeping in mind that we've already done our initial, our first round strategy of Hardy Warriors winning that. So we're either at level 1 or at level 2 for that. So already getting the friendship. Firm Grip helps us climb up on all of the tracks except for Emperor. Typically, you're going to use Firm Grip to go to Wealth to get the 2, move up a bump, and then pay 2 to go up on another track. But if you already have the Solari in hand, if you got some coin in your pocket, then you can use Firm Grip to hit up Swordmaster, High Council, or use that firm grip to get a 1 coin Mentat, get an extra dude, get an extra card, and get a bump on one of those 3 faction tracks. But one of the really cool things about Firm Grip is the alliance and the reveal ability. So if you do get that Emperor Alliance, you now have 4 persuasion, and that's 4 persuasion toward the 5 persuasion cards you're looking for to get those skirmish points. So it is a 99% discount on the cards you're already looking for. So it's a great grab. It's a no-brainer. It doesn't give you points itself, but it absolutely helps support both the strategic partnerships and big spenders. So this, I think, was an S tier card in this skirmish. Let's take a look at another one that I thought really helped me out. And here is a second card to definitely pick up if you're playing Fremen, Shifting Allegiance. This card helped me steal 2 alliances away in my second game. Obvious reasons: go down 1, pay 2, and go up 2 and another one. And the trick that I found was picking one alliance that maybe I wasn't ever going to really go for, and that was going to be the one alliance that I continued and went down on. And then I would go, and for Leto, it just happened to be the Bene Gesserit for this game. I was going up 1, just sitting there, so I go down and not lose anything, and I could go up 2. However, it did work out in a couple other games where I was up on the 5th rung or 6th rung of the alliance, and I would just go down 1 there, so I kept my alliance, but then I could jump up on another track. What I did find in this skirmish, though, that the AI, they were aggressive. They were really going for the alliances, and it was always a little stressful because there were many times when an AI was right behind me, or leveled with me and poised to take over. And then I was using moves to protect my alliance, which is always frustrating, right? You've worked, you got your alliance, and now you're giving up an agent move. Some action compression is lost because you have to defend, and so it feels like you're losing a little bit of momentum. So just be aware that you do want to lock those down because they will come for them. So I think Leto was the number 1 S tier pick for me. However, as always, Ilbon was also a viable and good choice. I played Ilbon after my official run, and I actually got 31 points using Ilbon. So I scored higher. It didn't count because it was after my 3, but his card draw was amazing. And also, I came across Shifting Allegiance, and I got to really lean in and benefit from that. Also, with Ilbon, I picked up Kwisatz. So his card draw, drawing in those great cards. And it's just a reminder, card draw and culling are powerful. Getting rid of cards that aren't helping you, thinning down your deck. When I was playing with Ilbon, I got down for a little bit where I only had 9 cards with Kwisatz. So I was almost always getting the Kwisatz back in my hand and then been able to go to wherever I wanted to go. So Ilbon, this season, season 3, there hasn't been a single skirmish where Ilbon would have been a bad pick. There was a bad pick this particular game, and in an earlier game this season, and that was Helena. Helena is an S tier leader when you're playing live. Her ability to infiltrate and save cards from the Imperium row is baller, but that very trait, the trait that makes her so good in a live game, made her terrible for this particular skirmish. And that's because of the way the rule is written. The way the modifier is written for Big Spender is acquired from the Imperium row. So as soon as you set that card aside, it is no longer in the Imperium row, and it will no longer count towards Big Spender. And this happened a couple of games ago, or maybe it was in season 2, but there was a modifier where you got skirmish points for every 5 cost card you got. And I learned this the hard way by using Helena and saving some cards that cost 5. They went down to 4, and so they did not count. So be aware of the language of the modifiers and how it impacts the signet ring abilities of these leaders, because a few people had commented that they really got burned, got hosed playing Helena, and had they not played Helena, they probably would have broken into the 30s, maybe mid 30s, and got up there in that top 10 of the leaderboard. But they didn't do that, and they lost some points, left it on the board. So that Big Spender modifier, if we break that down, again, Firm Grip was a great card for getting these 5 cost cards, but it's very niche, right? It has to be available. You have to get that Empire, or you have to get the Emperor Alliance for it to become a value. So really, it then became a question of, what do you rush first? Swordmaster or High Council? The Swordmaster, of course, gives you extra moves, which can be very valuable in faction climbing. But more valuable sometimes was having that High Council right away so that you could buy some big cards. And my strategy for this was just paying attention to the Imperium row. And if there was nothing in there of value at first, then I'm building up my coin no matter what. And then I'm going to see if I can't strike either Imperium, if I'm going to strike Swordmaster or High Council based on what's available at the moment. So having that 6 or 4 coin, and that's why Lido also is attractive in this particular skirmish, because lowering the cost for hitting the Landsrod, so you don't need quite as much, and that means I can hit Secure Contract and Wealth, and I would have enough a little bit more than enough to get my High Council. I will say my experience with going hard in the first conflict really made my economy sluggish. It was hard for me to get right back on track to rush for either Swordmaster or High Council. I had already spent my water in round 1, so I couldn't hit Haga or Great Flats to get that spice to then hit Sell Melange to get the coin to fund that rush. And in base game, Sell Melange is the mini shipping track, right? It's going to be rushed. So if you don't fund your spice so that you can hit that Sell Melange in round 1, you are very likely not seeing Sell Melange open until it comes back to you at round 4 or 5, whatever that happens to be when you're first. And I've been locked out of that many, many times, which is always the reason why, Beast is attractive, because he starts with a spice and a water. So you can, everyone starts with a water. He starts with a spice and a Solare, so you can go to Haga on your first move. That gives you 3 spice. You can then hit Sell Melange on your second agent, because you're the only one who has enough to go there, and immediately have 8 Solari. So you're in round 2, you are funded for a trip to either Swordmaster or to High Council. And it's really, then it depends. What's in the row? What are you going for? Do you need more moves, or do you need more purchasing power? This skirmish was was pretty interesting because I felt like they did play off each other with strategic partnerships and big spender, especially depending on the cards that you could pick up. That conflict 3 in the first round was it was like a land grab, going hard, which then I learned that can slow you down. Your garrison is depleted, so now you have to both build up your resources for rushing Swordmaster, for having water, and getting your garrison retrooped. So again, like Direwolf puts these out, and they can be just totally random. They can seem random, but they also have some minutia to it that helps me to focus in on little details of the game by focusing on a big conflict 3, the very first round. It shows you that how much that conflict can deplete you. It can take so much away from your resources, and now you have to build back up. And it's nice to be able to focus on that. It's nice to see how firm grip and strategic or shifting allegiances can play off one another. And it's brought into focus. It's sharpened more by these modifiers. Thinking about, well, I need alliances. That's how I'm going to pick up the points. And then puzzling out how you do it. So, for example, the leader has 39 points. How did they get there? And you do have to switch back and forth now with the new leaderboard. It'll be kind of crazy there because it'll start with the season score, so it can not seem chronological, but it is. So Dooner has been here since, very shortly after the Skirmish launched. 39 points they picked up, and Mika is here all the time in the top 5. 39 points. So we just assume they won. They got 20. Where did they get the other 19 points? The easiest way of thinking through it, just subtraction. Well, if they won 4 alliances, that's 12 points right there. They're at 32, and they picked up 7 5-cost cards. Not impossible. Especially if you're calling your deck, or even if you're not calling your deck. Just think about, if you feel like you're on the path to winning, you're pretty close to winning it, and we've all been there where it's like, especially in these skirmishes where like, I could end this round, but if I go another round, I can pick up some more points. You could just start picking up garbage cards. I mean, they're great cards probably because they're 5+, but garbage in terms of, you're not going to see them and you don't care. You're just picking them up because they cost 5. And that's the only prerequisite you have, is they cost 5, I'm going to get them. And there aren't really any sucky 5-cost cards. So, or 6, or, and then I think it goes like, there's a couple of 7, there's a few 8s, and then, that's it. The only 9-cost card doesn't count toward this skirmish because it's not in the Imperium row. So it's fun breaking those down, and what I want to know is, how do you think Dunner CZ got there? And if Dunner, if by some good grace you find your way to this channel, please let us know. And Mika, especially, if you find your way to this channel, let us know how you're doing this skirmish after skirmish, because I constantly see your name up here in the top 10. You're doing really, really well. Right now, tied for a season high score of 267. Which is amazing. Oh, no, I'm sorry. 289 is our high score from Flags, and Flags crushed the last skirmish, somewhere in the 40s, I think. So hopefully these players will glom on to this and grok for us how they're doing so well. This was a fun one. I'm looking forward to the next one coming up in just under 20 hours. But you know what? I've been talking a lot, and I got a full space out of here. I'm Jimmy G. This is The Maker Gonna Make. Please like, subscribe, and share. That's how YouTube knows that people like what I'm doing. And please let me know what you're doing. in these skirmishes, your strategy, your failures, because that's just as illuminating, and start talking. Let's get a conversation going. But right now, I got to full space out of here. Excuse me.